Shape and Space 7.2, Area of a Parallelogram. As a review, a parallelogram is a quadrilateral or four-sided shape with both pairs of opposite sides parallel. Parallel is when two lines are the same distance apart and do not intersect. Perpendicular are two lines that intersect at 90 degrees. When we're given a parallelogram, we can estimate the area of it by counting the number of whole squares and part squares that are 1/2 or greater. If I'm looking at the parallelogram in this diagram, I can count that there are 41 whole squares. And if I count squares that are 1/2 or greater, such as this one here or this one here, I can count 5. So by adding those together, I can state that the area of the parallelogram is about 46 square units. Any side of my parallelogram is called a base of the parallelogram. Often when we look at the base, we want to look at what's sitting on the ground. It is usually the most helpful, but it'll depend on the diagram that we're given. The height of a parallelogram is the length of a line segment that joins parallel sides and is perpendicular to the base. If I wanted to draw a height on this parallelogram, I might choose to draw it here, where I'm connecting two parallel lines. As we saw in the Explore activity, we can cut and rearrange a parallelogram to create a rectangle which has the same area. We can say that the area of the parallelogram is equal to the area of the rectangle with the same base and height. To find the area of the parallelogram, multiply the base by the height. We can represent this in two different formulas. The first one is A equals B times H, where my B represents the base and my H represents the height. Or we can write it as A equals BH. Remember that when we have two letters that are up against each other with no sign in the middle, it is implied that it is going to be multiplication. Let us use this formula to calculate the area of this parallelogram. When I look at the shape, I have a base which is 6. You'll notice that it's not necessarily on the bottom of the shape, but because our dotted line or our height is connecting these two parallel lines, we're going to use 6 as our base value, and we're going to use 12 as our height. There are 3 main steps that you should follow when you are doing any equation that has area. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to write our formula. A equals base times height, or B times H. Then we're going to substitute our values. So we know that 6 is our base and 12 is our height. So we're going to write this as area equals 6 times 12. The last step we're going to do is we're going to simplify. This is going to be doing any of the math that's left in our equation to determine what the area is. When I multiply 6 times 12, I get 72. So the area of my parallelogram is going to be 72.